In this video, we'll try to edit the same photos in both Photoshop and Affinity. We'll compare them in terms of retouching, masking, blend modes, filters and effects, and with so many things. Can Affinity a free software beat Photoshop? Let's find out. In the first example, we're going to retouch the skin in both Photoshop and Affinity. In Photoshop, we generally create a new layer, and with the healing brush tool, we try to remove the blemishes. Hold Alt option and click to take a sample and paint to remove the blemishes. I'm doing a quick job here. I need to show you so many things in this one video. In Affinity, we can do the exact same thing. At the top, you can see the Vector and Pixel tab. Vector is the alternative of Adobe Illustrator and Pixel tab is the alternative of Adobe Photoshop. There are some other tabs here. We'll talk about those in a bit. Since we are comparing Affinity with Photoshop, so we'll be focusing in the Pixel tab. Okay, let's start retouching. Just like in Photoshop, create a new layer. Select the healing brush tool. Hold Alt option and click to take a sample and paint to remove the blemishes. Most of the keyboard shortcuts are the same as Photoshop, so you don't need to memorize them again. One more thing we can do is use the patch tool. Let's go back to Photoshop. The problem of patch tool in Photoshop is that you cannot use it on an empty layer. It will give you this error. You need to do it on the main photo. But in Affinity, that's not the case. You can do it on an empty layer. But things get even more interesting. After you select an area to replace, you can zoom in or out. Isn't that amazing? We can also do dodging and burning. Create a curves adjustment layer. Drag it up to make it brighter. It doesn't come with a mask, so click the mask icon to create a mask. Now invert the mask. Select the brush tool. With a lower flow, slowly paint to remove those dark areas under the eyes. There are separate dodge and burn tools here, just like in Photoshop, but I like to do it non-destructively. I know there are so many methods and tools in retouching, but here I am showing the basics. The interesting fact is whatever you can do with Photoshop, you can do it here in Affinity. In the next example, we will try to select the subject. In Photoshop, if you select the object selection tool or any other selection tools, then you get the select subject option. With this, you can quickly select the subject. You can select individual parts or the entire person. You can modify the selection from the select and mask. Also for hair, you can refine the hair. I'll talk about the hair in a bit. But for now, let's hit OK. If I go inside the mask, you will see this is a pretty good selection. Now let's do the same in Affinity. Select the object selection tool just like we did in Photoshop. Affinity will automatically select it. But we can also use the Canva AI tab to select it with the help of AI. Let's go inside Canva tab. Here at the top right, you can select subject or remove background. But this isn't free. You need the Canva premium plans to use it. So for now, we need to use the object selection tool. Click here to select the model. Just like in Photoshop, you can refine it. You can smooth the selection or add feather. If I go inside the mask, you will see this isn't as good as Photoshop. But for a quick selection, you can work with that. For example, maybe for YouTube thumbnail where you just need to add a background or maybe some text in the background. But that doesn't mean you can get a good selection in Affinity. In Photoshop, we can use the pen tool for a precise selection. We create a path and turn the path into a selection. We can do that in Affinity as well. Select the pen tool and draw a path just like in Photoshop. Now from the top, click selection. It will turn the path into a selection. But what about the hair? You cannot select hair with the pen tool. Let's talk about that. Let's select the hair in this photo. In Photoshop, first select the whole subject using select subject. Then go to select and mask. Here with the refine edge brush tool, refine the hairs. Just paint on the edges of the hair. Photoshop will automatically improve the selection. We can also click the refine hair button at the top. If I go to the mask mode, you can see this is a good selection. Place a background behind the subject to see the selection properly. Now let's do the same in Affinity. First select the subject with the object selection tool. Now go to refine and just like in Photoshop, refine the edges. This is exactly the same process. Now you see this is almost the same as Photoshop's selection. Place a background to see it clearly. Photoshop did a better job, but Affinity's selection isn't bad at all. Now if you want to improve the selection, then select the brush tool, change the blend mode to overlay and paint in the edge areas just like we do in Photoshop. Like Photoshop, you can use the layer blend modes in Affinity. Here in the photo, I want to add the fire above the hand. In Photoshop, we can change the blend mode to lighten to hide the black background. Press Ctrl Command and L for levels. Here you can change the luminosity to make the fire more or less visible. There should be some yellow-orangish highlights. Let's add that. Create a new layer and change the blend mode to linear touch. Pick an orange color and slowly paint the highlights. Double-click on this layer to open Layer Style dialog box. From the underlying layer slider, move the left slider to the right. This will take away the highlights from the dark areas from the layers below it. I'm doing a quick job here just to see what we usually do. Now let's go to the Affinity. All these blend modes and layer style are also available in Affinity. Change the blend mode to lighten just like we did in Photoshop. Press Ctrl and L for levels. Here we can adjust the luminosity, but right now it's affecting the whole image. We need to clip it to the fire layer. Clipping a layer is a bit different in Affinity. You need to hold Alt and drag the layer on the top of the other layer. Now you can adjust the fire layer. Let's add some glow. Create a new layer. Pick a yellow-orangish color and change the blend mode to color touch. Now paint. Here you can use the blend if as well. In Affinity, the blend if options are here, not in the layer style effect. In Photoshop, we can find the blend if options in layer style, but it's a bit different here in Affinity. You need to click this icon for blend if. Drag this curve from left side downward. It will take away the highlights from the darker areas from the underlying areas just like in Photoshop. So up until now, we didn't find anything that can be done in Photoshop but not in Affinity. Looks like we need to go extreme. This is a photo composition I did last year. There are so many things going on here. There are like hundreds of layers. There are effects, camera, filters and so many things. But can this be done in Affinity? This PSD file is around 1.5 GB. When I first tried to open it with Affinity, it crashed. I had to restart my computer, but it worked second time. If there are some smart objects, Affinity will give you this error. Also some effects, blend modes will not work properly, but that doesn't mean you can achieve similar results in Affinity. If you start from the scratch, you can do all these things. Those blend modes and clipping masks are kinda messy here, but we just learned that we can do that here as well. There were blur effect applied in this car. We can also apply Gaussian or other type of blur. We can find these effects from here in the layers tab, or you can go to pixel and then filters. You will find all those effects here. One more advantage of Affinity is that it is very smooth. It requires much less processing power than Photoshop. See the blur effect? It's super fast. For color grading, there's a separate tab for that. Click this 3-dot icon and here you can check color grading. It's kinda like the camera filter. Not that advanced, but you can do the color grading from here. And all these are free. In conclusion, we can say, of course Photoshop is better, but for a free program, Affinity is simply amazing. If you do some basic editing, then I don't really see any reason to spend so much money buying Adobe subscription. But for me, I'll stick to Adobe. The advantage of Adobe is that all these programs, Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, After Effects, work in a similar way. That's why professionals will keep using Adobe, at least for now.